Hi everyone, it's me Nikki here with my tips for keeping craft room clutter under control. If you have a craft room or a studio or a homeschool room or anything like that, you know those spaces can get out of control in no time. And so I've been in my space for a while, and so I have some tips that have been working for me and I want to share them with you today. So I hope you can find this helpful. Okay, tip number one is easy access. Basically having easy access to those things that you use all the time. And there's certain things that I use all the time that I need to get to right away. And by having them have a space, which everything in your craft space should have a space because that's what is the big thing for keeping it under control. But like right here, this is where I keep my paints, but I don't use those often. But what I want to show you is my drawer where I keep my labelers, which I use nonstop all of the time. But I have a space for them in this drawer here. It's on a table where I can easily get to it, but it's out of the way when I don't need it. And so having your things placed strategically like that, I have found has been so helpful with keeping the clutter down. When I walk in my space, it looks clean and organized. Another example would be my punches. I use my punches all the time for different projects around my house, or if I'm making cards or whatever I'm doing. And I have these towel racks that I got from IKEA here, and they're right there on the wall as I walk in my craft room so that I can grab it, punch what I need to punch, put it right back. It keeps the clutter down. I'm not keeping them in a bin where I have to pull out the bin, then I sit the bin on the floor, and then I may not put it back. And so this right here helps me keep the clutter down because it has a neat, organized space. It's very easy to get to. It's very easy to put back. And that's key, is making it easy to put back. Because sometimes if it's not easy to put back, then it doesn't necessarily get put back in a timely manner. And so this has worked so great for me. And one of the tips is to definitely find easy ways to get to and put back your things you use all the time. And another thing is your electronic crafting tools, like your machines and things like that you use often. Have them set up. Don't keep them in their box and keep them in the craft closet and pull them out when you use them, because then it just creates a mess. If you use them a lot, have them on your craft table or wherever, but so that you can just go to it, use it. You don't have to pull it out of a box. You don't have to plug it in. It's already ready to use. It's already in its place, and it stays neatly there. I found that this is very helpful for any tools and things that I use here. And I have it simply on this little shelving unit that I have, but it's right there where I can just go here and use it whenever I need to use it. So that is just very important, I think, to have those kind of things. If you have the ability to do that, huge. Tip number two is work table zones. Now, this is basically having zones on your work table, because I think in a craft space or studio space or homeschool room, this can be the craziest part of that room, because this is where we do all our creating and our work and things like that. And so it gets to be a mess in no time. So what I do is I have zones for my craft table. The majority of my table is clear. But like in the center zone here, this is where I have my scissors and everything that I grab all the time, all of my punch tools and anything, pins, things that I use frequently all of the time when I'm crafting or when I'm working on things and I need to get to them quickly. And so that's zone one. It's a ton of stuff, but because it's all in this one zone, it keeps it neat and orderly and keeps my table still workable for me, and things are not just kind of all over the place. Now, I do need to go in here now and kind of reorganize it and straighten it up a little bit, because it's been a while since I've done that. But again, still, even with it needing to be organized, it's still all in one place and keeps my workspace clear. And another zone is this little bowl I got years ago from Ross, and it is my kind of new item bowl. So when I come in from shopping at Michael's or wherever and I buy something new for my craft space, I throw it in this bowl. I don't put the bag on the floor. I don't put the bag on my craft table to where it starts accumulating. I take it out the bag, I throw it in this bowl so that it's constantly kind of looking at me when I'm in my craft room, but then it's neat and orderly, and I know this is all of my new stuff that I need to put away in the different cabinets or wherever I keep them. But for now, as a temporary spot, it's in this cute little bowl. It's on my table. It's still keeping my work area neat, but it has this temporary space and it keeps down on the clutter. This has been huge for me. And it's the same concept like when you're cooking in the kitchen, you have a cooking bowl where you put all your scraps in, when you're cooking. But this is for just like my new items. When I purchase things and I'm bringing them in, I'm not just throwing them down somewhere and leaving them for, days or whatever the case may be. And the third zone on my work table is this one here for kind of like my personal items. Like, you know, you always have things that you have with you, like your cell phone, or I'm pulling off my earrings, and this when I'm doing crafting, or I need a pen or things like that. I keep all that kind of stuff, and also lotion. I don't have it here, but I put my lotion on here. I keep it all on this tray. And again, I do better with limitations. By having these zones, it limits me. I know that all these type of items has to stay on this tray, and I can't go beyond this tray. But again, it keeps it all right there together. It keeps it in one spot and keeps my work table from having stuff just kind of put everywhere, because if you just put it on the table, before you know it, your table is going to be chaotic. But if you create these zones and then make yourself not go beyond the zones, it keeps it so you always have workspace on your table. And although you do have a lot of stuff on your table, because you have it in zones, it doesn't look as cluttered. And so I know that, you know, I don't put anything beyond this tray here. So again, I have these 3 zones on my work table, but I have plenty of space still to work, but it keeps everything in order. So this is one thing that has really worked great for me, and I highly recommend you do that for your work table, because it really can, this is a hot spot to get really out of control easy. Okay, my next tip is my must-have project bins. You saw these if you saw my craft room organization video. I'll put the link to that below, where I take you through my entire craft room, through the cabinets, and give you a tour of the room. And check out that video if you want more details. But basically, these are my 4 project bins, where when I'm working on multiple projects, I keep each one in a bin. So I don't keep it all just kind of, you know, all over the room, all over my craft table, which makes for a mess, but I keep it in different bins. And this is great for you moms who homeschool too, because then you can keep your different kind of projects that you're working on with the kids in these bins. You know, if you are a crafter and you're working on a card for this person, or you're working on organizing your home manuals, or whatever you're working on, each one has a bin. And that way I can just put everything for that project in the bin, and when I'm working on that specific project, because I'm only working on one project at a time, so I'll pull out that bin, put it on my craft table. I have everything there from when I was last working on it, and I can just pull it out and start, you know, resume back to working on my project. When I'm done, put it all back, close it up, put it in the project bin, and then it sits there until I'm ready to work on it again. And then if I'm going to work on project 3, I'll pull project 3 and do the same thing. This has really, really, really worked so well for me with keeping me organized with that. So I highly recommend that you kind of have some type of system like that. And then I just close it off, and I don't have to look at all of the things I'm working on. So I love that. Okay, tip number 4 is my mini purging station. And this is just a little station that I put together with 2 magazine holders that I got from the Target dollar spot some months ago. And one I labeled scrap and one I labeled donate. And what I do is, if there's any kind of crafting tools or crafting things that I want to give to a friend or donate away, I'll put it in the donate bin. If I have scrap paper or scrap things, beads or whatever, or ribbon, I put it in the scrap bin. You can see it's very small so that I can't have this big bucket of things. And so what I do with my scraps is I make little kits out of them, because, you know, I think every corner of a piece of paper can be beneficial, and making little tags, I think they'll be great for just all kinds of things, and kids love to do crafts and things like that. So what I do is I take all my scrap paper, scrap ribbon, if I've painted and have paint cards, all those things, I take my punch and I make little butterflies, and I make little tags, and just by simply using my punches, and then I put them in little baggies in a Ziploc bag, and I make little kits to either donate to churches or donate to schools, or either give to a school teacher that's a friend of yours, or great for, I love getting them to like friends who have little girls, because little girls love to do all this kind of stuff. And so I'll give them a packet there. And so they're just these cute little packets of scrap paper, and I just kind of package them together to look like a little kit, because you can go on Michael's and pay good money for this, but this is all things that typically someone would throw away. But once you kind of use your punch to kind of punch them out and wrap up the little piece of ribbon, and a lot of times when I buy beads, I get free beads from the company. They donate like 3 or 4 free beads. I throw that in there, and it makes a cute little kit that somebody will enjoy and can use, especially if you have a friend that homeschools. She may love something like this. Don't throw away those scraps, and don't underestimate the smallest piece of paper, because it can turn into something beautiful and be a true blessing to someone else. And so I make these little kits, and then I throw them in my donate little magazine bin that you saw, and it's just fun to do. It takes me no time to do. I mean, to punch these things out takes no time to do, and it's just really a great way to repurpose all those little scraps that a lot of people just tend to just kind of write off and throw away, and not realizing that corner piece of paper can really turn into something beautiful that helps someone label their kitchen maybe, or, donate them to a shelter, a women's shelter or something, just anything, even the Senior Citizen Center, you make great use of that. I really, really want to encourage everybody to do that. And so by having that space to be able to put these in when I'm doing that, it works great. So I can just throw my paper in there, in the scrap paper, until I'm ready to make the little punches and make the little kits. And then once I make the little kits, transfer it in the donate bin. And then once these things fill up, I know I got to put it in a bag and put it in my car to make it move to its next space. So the great thing is keeping myself limited in space. Now, tip number 5 is convenient cleaning. And that's basically, I have been keeping a little bin in my craft room with a little bit of cleaning items that are specifically for my craft room, so that I can wipe down my craft room when I'm in there. And I found it very helpful to have my personalized cleaning supplies for my craft room, so that it's right there for me to grab, so that when I'm finished a project, I can just turn around in the cabinet, grab it, and clean it up. Have my air freshener, because your craft space is supposed to be your inspirational place. When you walk in there, you want it to smell good, you want it to look good, you want it to feel good. And so having the things necessary to make that happen right there easily at your fingertips has been helpful for me, because it keeps me on track with doing it. Because I believe after you do a project, and every time you leave your craft space for the evening or for the morning or whenever, just wipe it down, look it over, and make sure your space is beautiful, because that is your creative space and it needs to inspire you. And so keep that baby clean. And so I just simply wipe down everything, right before I leave, and it takes 2 minutes to do. And it's just, when I walk back in, it just makes it so it makes me inspired, so that I want to create and I want to do things. So just keep it clean. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you found some tips that would help you with your craft space. If I come up with any more that I found that have been working for me, I will definitely share that. Like this video if you want to see more of these types of videos. So I hope you all are doing great, and this is Nikki saying goodbye.